Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, from the Arabian Nights. In a certain town of Persia, there lived two brothers, one of whom was named Cassim, and the other Ali Baba. Their father at his death left them a very moderate fortune, which they divided equally. It might therefore be naturally conjectured that their position would be the same. Chance, however, ordered it otherwise. Cassim married a woman who very soon after her nuptials inherited a well-furnished shop, a warehouse filled with good merchandise and some considerable property in land. Her husband thus found himself suddenly quite a prosperous man, and became one of the richest merchants in the whole town. Ali Baba, on the other hand, who had taken to wife a woman no better off for worldly goods than himself, lived in a very poor house, and had no other means of gaining his livelihood and supporting his wife and children than by going to cut wood in a neighboring forest and carrying it about the town to sell on 3 asses, which were his only possession. Ali Baba went one day to the forest, and had very nearly finished cutting as much wood as his asses could carry, when he perceived a thick cloud of dust, which rose very high into the air, and appeared to come from a point to the right of the spot where he stood. It was advancing towards him. He looked at it very attentively, and was soon able to distinguish a numerous company of men on horseback, who were approaching at a quick pace. Although that part of the country had never been spoken of as being infested with robbers, Ali Baba nevertheless conjectured that these horsemen came of that denomination. Therefore, without considering what might become of his asses, his first and only care was to save himself. He instantly climbed up into a large tree, the branches of which, at a very little height from the ground, spread out so close and thick that only one small opening was left. He hid himself among the thick branches with great hope of safety, as he could see everything that occurred without being observed. The tree itself also grew at the foot of a sort of isolated rock, considerably higher than the tree, and so steep that it could not be easily ascended. The men, who appeared stout, powerful, and well-mounted, came up to this very rock and alighted at its foot. Ali Baba counted 40 of them, and was very sure from their appearance and mode of equipment that they were robbers. Nor was he wrong in his conjecture. They were, in fact, a band of robbers, who abstained from committing any depredations in the neighborhood, but carried on their system of plunder at a considerable distance, and only had their place of rendezvous at that spot. Presently each horseman took the bridle off his horse, and hung over its head a bag filled with barley, which he had brought with him, and when all had fastened their horses to bushes and trees, they took off their travelling bags, which appeared so heavy that Ali Baba thought they must be filled with gold and silver. The robber who was nearest to him, and whom Ali Baba took for the captain of the band, came with his bag on his shoulder close to the rock, beside the very tree in which Ali Baba had concealed himself. After making his way among some bushes and shrubs that grew there, the robber very deliberately pronounced these words, "Open Sesame," which Ali Baba distinctly heard. The captain of the band had no sooner spoken than a door immediately opened, and after making all his men pass before him and go in through the door, the chief entered also, and the door closed. The robbers continued within the rock for a considerable time, and Ali Baba was compelled to remain in the tree and wait with patience for their departure, as he was afraid to leave his place of refuge and endeavor to save himself by flight, lest some of the horsemen should come out and discover him. He was nevertheless strongly tempted to creep down, seize 2 of their horses, mount one, and lead the other by the bridle, and thus, driving his 3 asses before him, attempt his escape. But the peril of the undertaking made him follow the safer method of delay. At length the door opened, and the 40 robbers came out. The captain, contrary to his former proceeding, made his appearance first. After he had seen all his troops pass out before him, Ali.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?